Good morning. Welcome to News for Hearing Impaired. I'm Arnold Thomas. With me, Manisha this morning. First up, the headlines. Lok Sabha to take up today the historic resolution to end the special status of Jammu and Kashmir and the bill to reorganize the state. Rajya Sabha has already passed the legislations yesterday. Home Minister Ahmed Shah assures that full statehood of the bifurcated state of Jammu and Kashmir will be restored as soon as the situation normalizes. Prime Minister Narendra Modi praises Ahmed Shah for his speech in Rajya Sabha. Supreme Court to start daily hearing the Ayodhya dispute from today as the efforts to resolve the issue through mediation have yielded no results. Unnao rape survivor shifted to New Delhi's AIIMS. The survivor was critically injured in a road accident last week. In international news, US President Donald Trump condemns the rising racial hatred and white supremacism in American society. 30 people were killed recently in two separate shooting incidents triggered by racial hatred. And in cricket, Australia beat England by 251 runs in the first Ashes Test in Edgbaston. Steve Smith, making a Test comeback after 1 year, declared man of the match for his back-to-back hundreds. And now for the stories in detail. Lok Sabha will today take up the historic bill to end the special status of Jammu and Kashmir and make way for its reorganization. Union Home Minister Ahmed Shah tabled the bill in the lower house yesterday. The Home Minister will move for consideration and passing the Jammu and Kashmir Reorganization Bill 2019 to provide for the reorganization of the existing state of Jammu and Kashmir and for matters connected therewith or incidental thereto as passed by Rajya Sabha. The minister will also move the Jammu and Kashmir Reservation Second Amendment Bill 2019, and that will also be taken into consideration and passing. The bill seeks to extend the 10% EWS reservation to the state of Jammu and Kashmir. The government has announced the repealing of the Article 370, which grants special status to Jammu and Kashmir. The resolution in this regard were adopted by the Rajya Sabha on Monday. The upper house also approved the bifurcation of Jammu and Kashmir into two union territories of J&K and Ladakh, with 125 votes in favor as compared to 61 against it. The reorganization bill provides for formation of Union Territory of Ladakh without legislature and a separate one for Jammu and Kashmir with legislature. The Jammu and Kashmir Reservation Second Amendment Bill 2019, having provisions of 10% reservation for economically weaker sections of upper castes in the state, was also passed by Rajya Sabha. Replying to the debate on the bills and resolution, Home Minister Ahmed Shah asserted that scrapping of Article 370 will benefit all sections of society in Jammu and Kashmir and bring development and check terrorism. Shah said development of the state could not be possible due to this article and asked the people for 5 years to make J&K the most developed state in India. The minister assured that Jammu and Kashmir will go back to being a state from Union Territory as soon as the situation is normal in the valley. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has praised Home Minister Ahmed Shah's speech in Rajya Sabha on Jammu and Kashmir. In a tweet, the Prime Minister said, the Home Ministry accurately highlighted the monumental injustice of the past and coherently presented the government's vision for the people of Jammu and Kashmir. Sharing the Home Minister's speech on his Twitter handle, Prime Minister Modi said the views put forth by Amit Shah were extensive and insightful. Government's historic initiative for Jammu and Kashmir got the backing of several opposition parties. Regional parties like the BSP, SP, BJD, YSRCP, AAP, AIIMS all came out in support to end Article 370. The Congress was among the handful of opposition parties in the Rajya Sabha to speak out against the government's proposal to scrap Article 370. But the Congress efforts to stop the proposal suffered a serious setback on Monday as its chief whip in Rajya Sabha, Bhubaneswar Kalita, resigned from the party and the upper house, citing the party's opposition to the scrapping of Article 370. People across the nation hailed the decision of the Government of India to withdraw special status from Jammu and Kashmir. From north to down south, east to west, people rejoiced at the new era after Rajya Sabha voted to end special status of Jammu and Kashmir. People danced to drum beats and distributed sweets as they hailed the centre's move as a bold, historic and monumental decision towards delivery of justice to the region. In Jammu's Udhampur, Kashmiri migrants hailed the government's decision and said they were confident that development and employment would get a big boost in the valley. These celebrations were not only restricted to Jammu and Kashmir, but from Leh to Bengaluru to Varanasi to Bhopal to Ludhiana to Ahmedabad. The entire nation hailed the decision and celebrated. The big move by the Modi government was hailed everywhere. In other parts of the country also, people hailed the historic decision. Meanwhile, Jammu and Kashmir Governor Satyapal Malik has reviewed the security situation and emphasized the need for constant alertness and preparedness to deal with any eventuality after the centre scrapped Article 370 of the Constitution, which accorded special status to the state. According to a Raj Bhavan spokesperson, the government held a meeting with top officials last night and reviewed the prevailing security and law and order scenario in the state. The governor stressed the need for ensuring safety of general public and advised the administration to give due consideration to the genuine needs of people in the current scenario. The Supreme Court is set to commence day-to-day hearing from today to decide the Ayodhya land title dispute after the efforts to arrive at an amicable settlement through mediation failed. A 5-judge constitution bench headed by Chief Justice Ranjan Gogoi will conduct the hearing. The Apex Court had on August 2nd taken note of the report of the 3-member mediation panel headed by former Apex Court Judge FMI Khalifullah that the mediation process, which went on for about 4 months, have not resulted in any final settlement. The top court had on July 18th asked the mediation panel to inform the court about the outcome of their proceedings as on July 31st. In accordance with the Supreme Court order, Unnao rape survivor was shifted to AIIMS New Delhi on Monday from King George Medical University in Lucknow. The survivor was flown from Lucknow to New Delhi, and a green corridor and free passage were provided to the ambulance in Lucknow and Delhi. Following the advice of doctors, the rapid movement of the ambulance carrying the Unnao rape survivor was done in New Delhi through a green passage, which ensured that the distance between Delhi airport and AIIMS was covered in 18 minutes. In international news, U.S. President Donald Trump has denounced white supremacist extremism and racism and said mass murderers should be quickly executed in a strongly worded response to 2 gun massacres over the weekend. Trump said mental health laws should be reformed to better identify mentally disturbed individuals, and he called for capital punishment for those who commit mass murder and hate crimes. He said he had directed the Justice Department to work with local authorities and social media companies to detect mass shooters before they strike. Hong Kong's unrest spread more widely throughout the financial hub on Monday as riot police clashed with pro-democracy protesters at multiple locations, and the city's leader warned of a very dangerous situation. The third consecutive night of police-protester confrontations occurred after a rare strike caused transport chaos. Activists disrupted vital rush hour commuter train service, held multiple rallies, besieged police stations and launched projectiles at the legislature, while the general strike affected dozens of flights at one of the world's busiest airports. Police fired tear gas in at least 11 areas across the city, battling to disperse crowds of demonstrators in the most widespread unrest seen during the last 2 months of increasingly violent protests. On sports, Australia drew first blood in the Ashes with a thumping 251-run victory over England in the opening test match in Edgbaston on Monday evening. For the second time in the match, England's middle order fell cheaply with Joss Buttler, Ben Stokes, Johnny Bairstow and Moeen Ali failing to get to double figures. Local boy Chris Wokes top scored for England with a knock of 37 runs. Pat Cummins and Nathan Lyon, though, kept taking regular breakthroughs for the Aussies. England had not lost a test at their Birmingham stronghold since 2008 and toasted victory in each of the previous 11 matches across all formats in Edgbaston. That's all we have time for. Thanks for watching.